Yeah, right.
Fine. I'll start working. Hello, everybody in the pre-show. All 9 of you. Or 10 million. How could anybody possibly know that? How many people there are watching? How could anybody possibly? Max, how could anybody possibly know that?
I don't know.
Exactly.
It's probably a lie. Craziest thing that happened to you during your weekend?
Boy, it was a uniquely uncrazy weekend. Craig Way nearly missed scoreboard.
Ooh.
That's his story to tell, but
Okay.
suffice to say that so he was filling in for Ted Emmerich doing the Campbell game
Okay.
on the radio.
Because why not? He's a machine.
Because he's a robot. He's a cyborg sent from the future to kill us.
While covering high school football of all kinds.
And so we Mark Mangino fired. And so he was driving from Austin to Campbell to do the game.
Okay.
And I don't know if you saw, but there was some weather over the weekend.
A little bit of weather.
And he comes and his truck gets stuck.
Oh, no.
His truck got stuck. He said that...
How did it get stuck?
But what's so funny, so he knows everybody, and he knows every highway. And so they've shut down 35 just south between Waco and West because of high water.
Okay.
And so he calls a buddy of his in Waco and says, hey, I need to get off 35. How can I get around and stuff like that? So he goes, okay, do you see this exit? Take this. Start going around, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He ends up getting to like this one-lane wooden bridge.
Oh, no.
And he's about to cross it when he looks up ahead and he sees 2 trucks that are stuck. And he's like, okay, I need to turn around.
Okay.
That's when his truck starts going, whee!
Oh, no.
Slides back into a ditch.
So
he walks up to these other 2 guys. And one of them, Craig Way, the way that he described them, he goes, he couldn't have spelled cat if you had spotted him the C and the T. Which is just a great line. And then the other one goes, hey, Craig Way? Of course, right?
Of course.
So he...
world famous Craig Way.
He says they've called a record, but it's not going to be there until 2 hours.
Sure.
And he doesn't have that much time, so he tries to get it out, and he ends up like scraping up his truck, but he gets it loose.
Okay.
Gets there, only misses the first segment of the pregame show, which is
epic.
Remarkable. And so then the game runs long because there's lightning delays at Campbell and Yule's Trinity.
Everywhere.
So there's lightning delays and stuff. So he rolls it. So I get off the air on Fox Sports Southwest at 11, and Craig's not there. And I'm like, okay. I'm kind of there. I'm their JV.
Right.
I'm their JV.
You're the emergency backup quarterback.
I'm the JV quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm the JV quarterback, so I'm hanging around to make sure in
Sure.
case the varsity quarterback doesn't show up.
Uh-huh.
They go on the air at midnight.
Yep.
12 or 11:40 he shows up, which is way... I mean, he's usually there at like 10:30, And so he got there and told us the story and all that fun stuff. But
shoes muddy and everything, if I remember correctly. I was watching.
Shoes muddy.
Yeah.
But he got to do scoreboard. Although I think I'm filling in for him on scoreboard this week.
Unreal.
He's got to go up to Ames. Oh, by the way, so after scoreboard ends at 1.
Yeah.
Remember, there's an 11 a.m. Longhorns kick,
Mhm.
so he gets in his car and drives back to Austin because Craig Way is a robot sent from the future to kill us. That's what he is. That's what he is.
That's
He's
amazing.
also like my personal hero.
Sure. That's unreal.
Yeah.
And a very amazing Craig Way story.
As far as the craziest thing that happened to me this weekend, boy, I don't know. I sat on my couch a lot.
Oh, well, sometimes that's what you got to do.
I went to a pumpkin carving party.
But you forgot to bring the
I
pumpkin.
did. I have a DCTF or a DCTF pumpkin that I forgot to bring.
You're starting to question your commitment to the show.
Listen, it's sitting in my garage. Oh, a garage. What do you call it? A car hole?
A garage.
Garage. It's sitting. So I'll bring it tomorrow when we have Matt Mosley and a guest TBD on the show.
Okay. I can't imagine what we'd have to talk about with Matt Mosley tomorrow.
Gee, it's a shame that there's nothing
There's nothing
going on
going
in
on
Baylor
down
world.
in Waco.
Yeah, there's nothing going on there. It's a shame.
Nothing.
We need to change up. By the way, if you're watching and you're a high school head coach, if you send us helmets, we will put them on the desk and we'll put them behind us. We are absolutely accepting donations of helmets and shirts. I will wear your shirt. The only shirt I have right now is a Lubbock shirt. Lubbock High, courtesy of the great Jason Strunk, old Strunky out there.
Okay.
So if you send me a shirt, I will wear it. One of the women who work the camera at Fox Sports Southwest,
yes.
her brother is an assistant at Edinburgh Vela.
Okay.
So she had a pink Edinburgh Vela shirt.
That's
It says Sabercats on it. I'm like, I want one of those.
Sure.
Please get me one of those.
Yeah.
So she's efforting, she says.
Efforting.
She's efforting.
Okay.
But alas. So if you send me a shirt, I will wear it on the air, coaches. I am unequivocally a sellout.
Sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. I am a sellout.
Yeah.
Do you think we have anything to talk about on the show today? I don't know.
Nothing really happened over the weekend.
Just kind of.
Nothing
Nothing
at all.
Nothing much. World Series starts tomorrow. I forgot that.
That is true. Is that? Oh, no, that's wrong. Nothing to talk about. All right. Well. You ready to rock?
About as ready as I'm ever going to be.
And or roll?
Mm-hmm.
Off we go then.
Yes, y'all. DCTF Live, episode 6. It is Monday, October 26, 2015. It is, let me see. Let me do some quick Googling real quick.
Oh, good.
Give me a sec. I'm sorry. Hold on. This is an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is 30 days to Thanksgiving. The best holiday.
I understand you feel that way.
It is the best holiday.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying there are other options out there.
You're wrong. You're wrong. Thanksgiving's the best holiday, and we are 30 days away, folks. Very excited about that. My name is Greg Tepper, managing editor at Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Sitting over there to my right, twisting and tweaking, making it sound good, is Max Thompson.
Can you do me a little favor, Greg?
What's that?
The people on the podcast won't get what's going on here. But can you move your microphone slightly over?
Like that?
That would be amazing.
Wow, look at that.
That's perfect.
Okay, I can do that.
I want people to see your handsome face.
Look
I
at
want
that.
them.
Look at that. If you're listening on the podcast, I just I look very handsome. That's what it is.
I want.
And
the
if you're watching on the show, don't tell the people on the podcast. Which, by the way, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes.
Yes,
the DCTF
please
Live
do.
podcast. Big show.
Kind of a crazy weekend.
Very crazy weekend.
Yeah.
We're going to be joined by the Crosby head coach, Jeff Riordan, hashtag CC Takeover,
Yes.
in the building. We're going to talk with him after their survival of New Caney. We're going to be talking with our good friend, the high school football expert, Matt Stepp of theoldcoach.com.
The Woj of Texas high school football.
That's a good way to put it.
He is,
the
man.
Woj of Texas high school
He's
football.
the freaking Woj of Texas high school football.
That's a good way to put it. He
Yeah.
is. He knows every coach by like their first and middle name.
Yeah.
That's
And probably most of their kids' names.
yeah.
He's a machine.
He really is. We'll be joined by Matt Stepp. Got a lot of questions for him, and then we'll be joined by Corbs,
Corbett
the
Smith.
Dallas Morning News' own Corbett Smith.
Will he be joining us from the Space Ghost set at Sports Day High School?
That really,
Space Ghost set.
that is a great way to put it, because the high school you're referring to Sports Day HS, which is the show that follows Fox Football Friday on Fox Sports Southwest, where they talk about DFW. Him and David Newberry of the Ticket talk Dallas area. DFW
That's like
high school
the
football.
that's like the amazing. That show is like in the little closet in the corner of Fox Sports.
It is.
It's
It is.
amazing.
I could pull back the curtain and tell you that it's basically right off to the side of where
Yeah.
they do scoreboard.
Yeah.
Like whenever I fill in for Craig Way on scoreboard,
Sure.
they're always sitting like right there.
Yeah.
But another big show here on DCTF Live. Get involved with the conversation. Hashtag DCTF Live. How was your football weekend?
Good. Very rainy.
It was rainy.
It was chaos Friday, Saturday. I almost didn't make my haircut appointment. Chaos.
How much do you pay for a haircut?
You don't want to know.
Is it just like an absurd amount?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Although,
Max.
you know what the scary part is? Here's the scary part. They told me how much it was afterwards, and I laughed.
Uh-huh.
And they thought, like that they were offended, like I was acting like it was too much. But after moving back from New York and Connecticut, cheapest haircut in the world.
That's
Hey, what's your guess? What's your guess on the price of a Max Thompson haircut?
my guess.
Yeah.
$150.
Well, geez, no. Okay.
I don't know. You've got really nice hair.
That's no.
So we're gonna start off with what we call 3 and Out, which is our 3 big takeaways from the football weekend. We're gonna do 3 for high school, 3 for college. So it's really 6 and Out.
And eventually I'll have a really cool graphic for this.
Yeah.
Just not today.
Yeah.
So today you'll just have to deal with the talking points.
Just imagine.
Yeah.
Number 1 story. We'll start with college. Number 1. Baylor is all of a sudden. Who would have thought that it would be Iowa State that would perhaps submarine Baylor's season?
Not
Right?
even me, noted Iowa State
Yeah.
enthusiast.
Yeah, really. So, if you haven't heard, the quarterback Seth Russell, who's just been fabulous for the Bears, left the game against Baylor with a broken bone in his neck. Is all they're saying. It's a fractured neck bone for Seth Russell.
It's one of those things. Never good.
No.
No.
And you don't screw around with a
No,
neck.
you just don't.
And so he's seeing a specialist literally right now. So if you listen to the podcast, you probably know by now what the diagnosis is. But I think at this point, it is possible that it's one of those things that sounds worse than it actually is.
It's possible for sure.
But
Our good friend Brad Hilliard here in the office pointed out Bryce Petty broke a bone in his back, and that sounds terrible. He'll probably not play all season, and he ended up playing with it.
Yeah. So maybe I'll tell you that you don't screw around with a neck issue. I mean, especially in football. That's not, And so if we are working under the assumption that Baylor will be without Seth Russell for at least some amount of time,
right.
all of a sudden all eyes turn towards Jarrett Stidham, the freshman backup quarterback. And Jarrett Stidham was fabulous at Stephenville. He's been fabulous in garbage time for Baylor.
Right. I mean, he comes in at the end of those games, and the crowd gets amped up just to see him.
Sure, but Baylor, I mean, and it's tough because you give Art Briles pretty much every benefit of the doubt when it comes to quarterbacks. He's the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Jarrett Stidham is 5 months removed from his senior prom. You know? I mean, this is, if he can, and
maybe it was a particularly grown-up senior prom.
And he's coming, and the thing is, now they've got a bye week, which is obviously big for Baylor. But they are going into the meat of their schedule. You know, they're going into the heart of the schedule. You know, they got the bye week, but then they go to Kansas State. Now, that's a Kansas State team that's banged up. But it's still dangerous in Manhattan. Then they host Oklahoma, who all of a sudden
looks like...
Yeah.
Wow.
Looks like a giant killer. Then they go to Oklahoma State, where they haven't won since 1927.
Yep.
And then they go to TCU. And they play at Oklahoma State and at TCU. Actually, let me tell you this. They play Oklahoma at Oklahoma State and at TCU in the span of 13 days. Over 13 days. And you want to throw a freshman quarterback into that?
Oh.
It's I believe in the Art Briles system.
Yeah.
I believe that to a certain extent it's plug and play, but I also think that Seth Russell's a special quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he's a good quarterback,
yeah.
And I'm not saying Jarrett Stidham's not. I'm saying that there's going to be a drop-off.
Yeah.
Because if you were to take any FBS program and take away their quarterback and put in the backup, there's going to be a drop-off.
Well, and the other part of it, too, is Russell really seemed to have finally kind of found his groove, which is crazy to say the way they've played all season. But when he started doing it with his legs against West Virginia, you went, okay, there's another element here. You know, they're hitting peak powers right as they head into this gauntlet, and
then
womp.
Kaboom. So
stinks.
We will bring you news on, if we get it during the show, we'll let you know what it is. But right now it does not look good for Baylor. You have to assume he's out for at least a couple of weeks, you know?
Yeah.
Now, and if it would be a minor miracle if he only missed like one game.
Yeah.
That would be a minor miracle.
I mean, that's what you would think with an injury like that.
Meanwhile, speaking of quarterbacks, boy, do we have a quarterback situation going on in College Station. Texas A&M once again just lifeless offensively.
It's just so disappointing.
Now you give again, I think they've played two great defenses, Alabama and Ole Miss.
Oh, absolutely.
Averaging 3.5 yards per play. That's not going to get it done. And when you think about the A&M offense of old, they used to be dominant.
Yeah.
And now they just seem stuck in the mud. It seems like they're waiting for somebody to make the big play, and it just isn't coming along. I think too much is put on the quarterback. I'll say that. I think that the offensive line has not held up its end of the bargain. And when you go back to those Johnny Manziel years, the halcyon years of Johnny Manziel, they had an elite offensive line, a super elite offensive line. And now they have an okay offensive line.
Right.
And you're seeing that difference.
Yeah.
And the offense it never looked like they were about to threaten.
Yeah.
It just never did. And so, but the big conversation going on in College Station is Kyle Allen starts off 10 of 12, then rattles off one of his next 19.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, one or two of his next 19. It was really bad.
Not great.
He did not look good. He was missing throws that he should make, period. That's just the bottom line of it. And so the 12th man starts crying out in one voice on Twitter, put in the backup, put in the backup, put in the backup.
Yeah.
And so they put in the backup.
Yeah.
And out trots
what?
Jake Hubenak.
What? Wait, who?
The former
Georgetown great?
Former Georgetown great led them to a title, or led them to a title game.
Title game.
Led them to a title game, and he comes in, and I thought for a third string quarterback, and I love Jake Hubenak. Loved what he did at Georgetown. I thought he was under recruited coming out of high school.
Yeah.
And he bounces around, goes to junior college, and then ends up at A&M.
Yeah.
He was fine. He played like a third-string quarterback. He played fine against, but it's not enough to salvage it. And the question on everybody's mind is, where's Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray's standing on the sideline. To me, there are two options. One, he's hurt.
Yeah.
We don't know that, and if he is hurt, there's no upside for Kevin Sumlin coming out and saying, "Oh, he's hurt."
Yeah.
So that's one possibility.
Entirely possible.
The other
are we addressing what people say on message boards on this show?
No.
Not at all?
Nope.
Not whatsoever?
The only thing I'll say is that the other option would be discipline.
Sure.
Would be he's in someone's doghouse of some kind. We don't know.
That's an umbrella statement, so I think that's...
I don't have any inside information. It is...
The message boards have lots of theories, though.
Boy, they do. They always have theories. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Let's also... The other thing I want to bring up, let's also not act like Kyler Murray, as great as he is a magic bullet. That he's going to come in and all of a sudden the offense is just going to spring to life.
Yeah.
And they're going to
freshman.
And they're going to be scoring 50 points a game. They're not. Now, we could argue if he's the best option for them. That's certainly an argument worth having. But I think that the notion that Kyler Murray is going to come in and all of a sudden revolutionize this offense, I think that's misguided. You saw it against Alabama.
I was going to say, here's an Alabama team who, on a secondary part of their game plan, prepared for Kyler Murray and what he might do in that game, and they were ready.
Pretty much shut him down.
Nothing there that he created.
I mean, that's the thing is that I love Kyler Murray, and I think he's a special talent. I think he has an opportunity to be great. But much like we're talking about Jarrett Stidham, he's not going to come in and be just superstar. He's not going to be amazing against Alabama. 2 for 4 for 21 yards and a pick, and then you're saying, oh well, he's going to run the ball. But they had him spied. He ran twice for negative 10 yards.
Yeah,
he's not a magic bullet, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think Kyler Murray's special. There's a quarterback controversy going on. I don't know if you can put Kyle Allen back out there. He's looked bad 2 consecutive weeks. He's thrown really mystifying interceptions.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The other, in our 3 and out, would be the Texas Longhorns. Are you buying this?
Buying what exactly?
Because I think that, I think obviously that win over Oklahoma was fantastic. They go and they beat Texas, or they go and they beat Kansas State, a banged up Kansas State in a sloppy, ugly game, but they win. Now, maybe the defense has finally woke up.
Maybe.
And maybe they found the right combination. I think I'm still in wait-and-see mode for Texas. Sure. It's a good win. It's a necessary win against a team that's had your number. But for Texas, I think I'm still in wait-and-see. I'll tell you, I think they found the perfect use for Tyrone Swoops.
Oh, yeah.
The 18-wheeler, as they call it. 18-wheeler package.
The nickname has stuck, apparently. I think they could have done better than that, but Charlie referenced him as the 18-wheeler in the post-game presser, so I think
it's stuck.
So it shall be. Hath decreed.
Yes, it is. It is done.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in wait-and-see mode on Texas.
There's no reason not to be. That's a weird game, number one.
It's a weird game.
It's raining.
Yeah.
2, Joe Hubner is their only quarterback at Kansas State, and Texas rightfully sent the dogs after him. Just, we're all full out, go get him. And they end up with a receiver playing quarterback for about a third of their snaps in that game.
Mm-hmm. Cody Cook comes in.
And look, bless Cody. He tried.
A win's a win, and all of a sudden you start looking at the schedule at Iowa State.
Yeah, who just fired their offensive coordinator.
Probably a win. Home to Kansas, almost certainly a win.
Yeah.
You're looking at a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah.
Wins are wins. It doesn't matter if they're ugly or pretty, but Texas, I still want to see them. I think that the game I'm now looking forward to is November 14th at West Virginia. They win that game. It is mea culpa. I am all aboard the Longhorns bandwagon at that point, but I'm waiting until then.
That's probably reasonable. I don't think there's any reason to jump on that bandwagon.
As far as high school, we'll zoom through these real quick. First of all, Sybil of Steel they're the best team in San Antonio.
They're the pain train.
They're the pain train. They shut down Judson.
Yeah.
And honestly, this final score was 20-13. It didn't feel that close.
No, it wasn't that close.
And that Steel defense is just so good. I think the mark of a truly great defense is when you're excited to watch them play defense.
Yeah.
And I am excited whenever Sybil of Steel gets out there and plays defense.
I'm with you there. I'd be kind of the same way with Trinity. It's a similar kind of I went to Trinity Southlake, and it's one of those things. I watched a lot of Steel games too. For 5 years, I guess. You just walk away. You're amazed how much you're impressed by impressive foreign tackling. Like,
yeah, it's just
look at how well they tackle.
They just never miss tackles. Cibolo Steel looked great. I still think Converse Judson is a great team.
Great team.
Potentially elite.
Yeah.
But
could go on a run.
But I think that Steel's better, and I think that the better team won on Friday night, and they looked great doing it.
Absolutely.
Lake Travis gets a big win over Westlake. They look great. I think they solidify themselves as legit.
They made Westlake look very average.
We were kind of in wait-and-see mode on Lake Travis. We
both picked them.
Yeah, we are no longer in wait-and-see mode.
Bad news, though, is it sounds like they may have lost Abe Willows for the rest of the year.
Their running back.
They're running back, and that's a huge blow to their playoff hopes.
Because they're,
they're going to make the playoffs, but making a deep run, they needed that extra versatility.
Sure, because when you look at that offense, it's easy to think, like Travis, they throw the ball around, and they do. But I mean, there's got to be that running game, and Abe Willows was so important in that running game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, as long as that defense keeps churning, then they're going to be just fine. Disappointing for Westlake, but a great win for Lake Travis. And then the other one I want to get to is Canadian, and I mentioned this on the on Fixin' to Pick'em last week that they were going up against Stratford up there at the top of the Panhandle, and they just decimated them.
Yeah.
And Stratford's a great team, and this was at Stratford.
Yeah.
And Canadian came out and just boat raced them.
Yeah.
Canadian is right now the best pound-for-pound high school football team in Texas.
Yeah.
That is, I don't think there's any doubt about it.
It's hard to argue otherwise.
They're
dominant.
Amazing.
Completely dominant. And they are in every classification. If you had to bet your life on one team winning it all,
it's either them or Navasota.
Number one, yeah.
Them or Navasota. But I don't think there's anybody, we were looking forward to this Canadian Refugio game. If there's in the state title game, we thought that was a path. Now, who knows? Mason may have something to say about that.
Yeah.
Shiner. There's
Mason
a lot of teams
looks great again.
A lot of teams down in Region 4.
Yeah.
A lot of teams down in Region 4 that can give them trouble, but that can give Refugio trouble. But at this point, I think it's Canadian and then a gap.
Yeah.
I think they are so good at the way they throw the ball, the way they run the ball, the way they play defense. They're a complete team.
And someone else in that classification could pull it off, but it would be a huge upset.
It would be an upset at this
point.
Be
a huge,
you look at Mason
upset.
And Shiner, someone from Region 4, Mason, Shiner, Refugio, all very good.
Yeah.
Alto, you wonder where their head's at after the tragedy out there.
It's tough.
Even though they're so super talented, they play tonight against Cayuga.
Yeah.
But you wonder where their head's at.
It's impossible to know.
It is. But here's the thing. Those 4 teams that I just rattled off, they would not see them until a title game, I believe. I think Alto's right on that. Right on either they're 3 or 4. I'm not real sure. Let me check real quick. But it's they're Region 3, so they wouldn't see them until a title game.
Yeah.
I think Canadian right now is just a buzzsaw. And one more on 4th down. We'll go for it on 4th down.
Okay.
The Lufkin-Ennis game. Lufkin-Ennis game. If you didn't see...
So bizarre.
You do have an option of... if you cannot get a game in, and obviously with the weather the way it was, especially out in East Texas, it was just hammering them, and they didn't know if there was going to be a window. And they didn't want to wait until Monday. And so the coaches came together and said... Let's decide this on a coin flip. That's right. They decided the game on a coin flip. And Lufkin won the coin flip. So Lufkin wins 1-0.
2.
Is it 2?
2-0.
Is it officially 2-0?
Officially, it's 2-0.
Because you can't win a game 1-0?
You can't win a game 1-0.
Unless it's a forfeit. Yeah, you can win a
forfeit.
I
think it's officially 2-0.
2-0. Lufkin. And what's weird is I was doing the 5A rankings, and you go and you see Ennis is like... I'm not looking at 19th, and then Lufkin's 24th, and I'm like, well, I guess they stay right where they are. So you are in a unique situation where the 19th ranked team technically loses to the 24th ranked team, and they don't move in the rankings.
Yep.
Because that's just the way. That's the only fair way to do it.
Yeah.
I appreciate Jack Alvarez's reported, I haven't had this confirmed, but reported reasoning for going for it.
We can ask Matt Stepp.
We can ask him.
Yeah.
Was that they had lost the initial coin flip. They had lost the initial coin flip, and they go, okay, to start the game, like who's going to get the ball? And Jack Alvarez, and they had lost that, and he goes, well, I guess we're due. Now that is entirely unconfirmed, but I love that. And I love Jack Alvarez, who is just like, you know what? Let's go for it. He doesn't want to risk his team. Probably not going to improve or harm their playoff chances, because Jack Alvarez wouldn't do that if that was the case. But just a remarkable situation out there at the Lufkin and Ennis game, as Lufkin gets a 2-0 win via coin flip. So, yeah. Other games across the state that really caught our eye. Crosby survives in overtime against New Caney, a feisty New Caney team. But Crosby is 8-0. They are cruising right now, and we are so happy to be joined on the phone by the head coach of those Crosby Cougars. It is Coach Jeff Riordan. Coach, how are you?
Blessed, man. I'm blessed. It's been a good day.
It has been a good day. It's been a good weekend. You guys go and face a feisty New Caney team that came in with plenty of stomach for the fight, and you came out on top in overtime. You guys haven't played a ton of close games this year. How important do you think it is? You guys have legitimate state title aspirations. How important was it to play a good team and play them close and get a win?
Man, the name of the game was trying to get a win, and we did that, so it was definitely nice. New Caney, they're a very good football team. I don't think they're a surprise to anybody in our district. We've seen a bunch of improvement in them last year. They had a lot of experience coming back at key positions, and they've been rolling this year. They're putting up a lot of points on offense. They're playing very good defense, and they came into Crosby Friday night with a point to prove and a chip on their shoulder. Man, those kids played hard. They played lights out, and they played it in a manner that they deserved to win. And we were very lucky to come out with a W. But it was good to see our kids fight through some adversity, and get in overtime and get that experience and make some clutch plays at really clutch times. Our kids performed, and you can't coach that. We got a bunch of winners on our team, and that just shows you last year where they went 13-2 on a year that they were supposed to be down and out, and it's just carried over into this year. They're a good group of kids, and no matter what happens and no matter what adversity strikes, they're gonna find a way to get the W.
I want to take you back to an unhappy moment, back on December 12th at DKR Memorial Stadium, and you're walking off the field with a 49-21 loss in the semifinals to Cedar Park. The next day or the next week, whenever you got your team together and talked, what did you tell them after that game?
I told them I love them. I told them I was proud of them. They did a lot of things that Crosby had never done. They proved a lot of people wrong. I was just proud of the season they had. But you could see it in the eyes of those guys that were coming back, and some of those seniors that were leaving, that when you get that close and you taste it, that there was nothing to be satisfied with at that moment, and you could just see the hunger in their eyes. They wanted to be back on the field, and it was a weird moment, Tepper, because that's at the end of the semester. So that last week is like finals. So I didn't really get to see the kids that much. So it lingered for a while with us, and I think the first time we really sat down and talked about it was when we came back for the second semester there in January, and it was a lot of time to think about it and reflect on the good things that happened, but also what we needed to do moving forward and trying to achieve that +1.
We're talking with Jeff Riordan, head coach of the Crosby Cougars here on DCTF Live. Get involved with the conversation at #DCTF Live. Coach, I made the comment last week about your squad that I thought that one of the most dangerous things about your team was that you guys were 7-0 going into that New Caney game, and I didn't think that your offense had reached its ceiling yet. Am I way off base there?
No, man, you're right on it. We've lost a lot of kids due to injury. We've played some kids banged up. We've had a carousel running backs. We've moved two different receivers to the backfield to try to make up for running backs getting hurt, and they both went for over 150 yards, and then then that one got hurt, and we went to another receiver and put him in the backfield, and he went for 170, and then he got hurt. It's just we hadn't really got any consistency on offense. It seems like every week we're rotating a couple of new guys in there. Where last year we didn't have that problem. We stayed healthy the whole year, and that was the key. And time we got to the playoffs, those guys were gelled, and the chemistry was there, and they were rolling. So I think we're ahead right now of where we were last year offensively, just because we have a little bit more athletic ability and talent, but we're not as close as we need to be as far as chemistry, and it'll come if we can stay healthy.
You've got a lot of weapons on that team. The two that stand out to me, Manny Netherly, who is on another world as far as receiving is concerned right now, and then your quarterback Tristan Cotton. And last year, he had a good year, and I feel like he's really taken a step forward this year and really improved his overall game. I've been super impressed with your quarterback.
Yeah, we put a lot more on T-Cot because last year our offensive line was unbelievable. We had 3 running backs that could get it. This year we're banged up at the running back position, so we're having to rely on his arm a lot more. And he stepped up to the challenge, and he's having an unbelievable year. He's right around 2,000 yards passing. He's thrown for 23 touchdowns. He's rushed for 400-something yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's having a great year, and of course he's having a great year because of the improvement we've had with Manny Netherly. Manny is a quarterback his whole career. We moved him to receiver at the end of his freshman year after the freshman season was over. And last year as a sophomore, he was kind of just learning receiver. And you've seen him about the third round of the playoffs become a different person out there. And that just carried over to this year. And, Manny, you're right. He's on another level. He's 6'3", and he's got some wheels. And when he catches the ball, he breaks tackles, and he tries to get to the end zone every time.
He's a dangerous man in the open space, and the improvement over the past few years on your defense has been just remarkable. It's been, going from a legit, going from a detriment to your team to all of a sudden, arguably, its overall strength. What has been the reason behind your defensive really renaissance?
I think we just got more athletic over there, and guys are over there a lot more angry and physical. That helped out a bunch. Last year we won some close games. We played a bunch of close games early where we really wasn't clicking on offense, and the defense was pulling us through. And the experience they've got coming back, and then just the overall strength and speed that they've improved on. I mean, those guys fly around over there, and it hurts them a little bit when somebody scores on them or gets a big play on them. Last week against New Caney, I don't think we played as well as we have been on defense, but that had a lot of credit to their offense. They did a great job of exploiting our weaknesses and making us wrong and some of the run pass option stuff that they were doing. But our defense has definitely been a pride of our team this year, and very excited about what they're doing right now.
We're talking to Jeff Riordan, the head coach at the Crosby Cougars here on DCTF Live. And Coach, one last question before we let you go. Crosby tends to be a bit noisy on Twitter, and I would like to know if that's starting at the top. I would like to know who is responsible for the Crosby Twitter infiltration, we'll call it, because
the CC takeover.
Goodness gracious, I can't even think the word Twitter think the word Crosby on Twitter without just getting deluged by this army of Crosby supporters.
Yeah, that's what's great about a small town like Crosby. I mean, we promote our kids any way we can. It's Facebook, it's social media. We want the good news to be put out there. And it comes from our superintendent, down to just our community support. We played a game Friday night. I bet we had 8,000 people at the game. And that's what happens when you have a one-horse town, and the community has got a lot of pride in what we're doing and how we're doing it, and they back us, and it's an awesome place to be right now. I promise you that.
I also think it's your assistant coaches. I think that Rowe and Mann are.
Maybe they need to do a little more coaching and less tweets.
He is Jeff Riordan, the head coach of the 8-0 Crosby Cougars, joining us on DCTF DCTF Live. Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and continued success the rest of the way.
Appreciate it. Anytime.
There he goes, Jeff Riordan, head coach of the Crosby Cougars, joining us on DCTF Live. I'm telling you, follow him on Twitter, by the way, at Coach Riordan. It's Riordan. It's a little hard to spell, but
don't worry, we had it up during his whole interview, so if they didn't get it then.
I'm telling you,
yeah,
he's a rising star in the coaching community.
Sure, you has all the things you want.
You want to keep an eye. You want to know the name Jeff Riordan because he's going places, and he's got Crosby heading in the right direction, and then those freaking assistant coaches.
They're all over you.
Oh, they're all over me on Twitter.
They're all over you on Twitter.
Man in a row are just...
It's fantastic.
It's relentless. It is relentless. But Crosby, very dangerous. They've got, I think that for the most part, they'll have CE. They've got New Caney Porter this week, and then they get CE King in the finale. And CE King's a good squad, but they'll be, they'll almost certainly be favored in that game. But they're dangerous. If they can keep things rolling... it's a dangerous New Caney or a dangerous CE King squad.
Yeah.
Travion Williams, but I know that was their one regular season loss last year, and I know that they're sore from it. So I think they're going to. Well,
you look at their 2 losses last year, and you go, well,
yeah, those are pretty good.
You're probably going to get those games again.
I mean, you're probably going to. You've got your chance at redemption against CE King with their beautiful at the beautiful new Cougar Stadium in Crosby, and then if things go right. You're probably careening headlong towards Cedar Park in the semifinal.
That'd be awesome.
Be a great game.
That might be one you hope as we head down to Houston for that finals week. Maybe we leave a day early just to catch that one wherever it ends up getting played on the way.
Well, and maybe, ideally that would be on one day, and then if there's a Katie and Cibolo Steel semifinal, we can stop.
Or like a early afternoon, and then an evening combo. I'd make that work.
It's DCTF Live.
You know who's great at those games at doing that? It's seeing 3 games in one day or whatever. Matt Stepp.
Matt Stepp really is good at that. We're going to talk with Matt Stepp here in just a moment. You're watching DCTF Live or listening to DCTF Live if you're listening on the podcast.
Sure.
And if you're not listening on the podcast, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. It's DCTF Live Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. Of course, you can always see us at texasfootball.com. And I don't know. There's something about Crosby this year. I don't know what it is. There's something that they have that it. They have that it, and it's hard to define, and I'm Mr. Measurables, but I think that they have that it this year. It was another wild weekend of high school football across the state, not just Crosby, not just in Cibolo, and not just at Lake Travis, but we are, the rain, I think, really screwed things up in a sense. You got some wacky results as a result, but I also don't think that I think that coaches did the right thing as far as moving things along and making sure that they that the players are safe, because the lightning delays, obviously. We talked with the UIL athletic director, Dr. Susan Elza, my Twitter BFF, by the way. We talked to her on Fox Football Friday and about the weather and just her reaction to it. And they were in touch with a lot of ADs. They were in touch with a lot of them and figuring out what they were going to do. But one guy who braves the storm every week. From the oldcoach.com.
The Woj of Texas high school football.
The Woj of Texas high school football. It's the great Matt Stepp. Hey, Matt.
What's up, fella?
How you doing?
I'm just living the dream.
I know you're stuck. So here's the amazing thing about, because you call him the Woj of Texas high school football.
He is the Woj of Texas high school football.
And he certainly is. Here's the amazing part. He also has a straight gig.
Yeah.
Like, he also has, like, a day job, which is... How in the world do you balance that?
Yes, please, tell us.
Well, if my boss is listening, I might not have a day job anymore. So let's leave it at that.
So this weekend we had a lot of, I think, showdowns across the state that kind of separated the great from the elite. The ones that come to mind for me: Cibolo Steel's win over Converse Judson, Lake Travis's win over Westlake. Do either of those strike you as a surprise? Either of those results?
I think Lake Travis being as dominant as they did kind of caught me off, because I thought that was going to be a really close game, and Lake Travis
pretty much had their way with Westlake. I thought the margin and the way that Lake Travis got that done caught me a little off guard.
Lake Travis certainly looked good against Westlake, especially defensively. We talk so much about the DFW area and how they've brought home they've swept the 6A and 5A state titles the past 2 years. The big talk now is that with the title games going to Houston and with an improved depth in the Houston area, they've got a chance to bring home a couple titles. From your perspective, do you see the DFW dominance breaking this year?
I think it'll be tested at least. I think we'll still have a couple of DFW champions, is my guess, but I don't think we'll see a sweep this year. I do think Houston, maybe San Antonio, cracks that armor a little bit and steals a couple of games. Not to say steal's probably a bad word, but sure. I think this is a year that you could see it. And it's not just because the games are in Houston. I think across the board, the depth in the DFW area isn't where it would be. And I think even if the games were at AT&T, you might see a team from Houston or San Antonio sneak in there and get a title.
Is there one or two teams that you look at that you would say they're the favorite outside of the DFW area that you would say have to be considered a favorite to bring home a title?
I would say definitely in 6A, I would go with Steele personally. I saw Steele in person against DeSoto, and I really like their diversity on offense. They're really, really dynamic this year. They've played a tough schedule, and they don't fear Katy. You know, they really went toe-to-toe with Katy last year at NRG. And if you want to look really far ahead to the state semifinals, a potential Katy-Steele matchup would be in San Antonio this year. And so I might give a slight edge to Steele in that game just because of all those factors. If you look in 5A, I think Temple has looked really, really strong. I think they would probably be one of the favorites in Division I. And I think Cedar Park, obviously in Division II, along with Crosby, really have potential to make a noise. I think if you're looking for a real sleeper out of the Houston area, it might be Stratford. Mm-hmm. Their defense has been lights out this year. They've got some big-time talent, not only on offense with Rakeem Boyd, but the linebacker Brooks committed to Texas Tech, and the defensive tackle Miller, who's a Northwestern commit. I mean, Stratford's been really, really strong this year, and if you're really wanting to find kind of that sleeper that no one's talking about, I think they might fit that bill.
They got a big game this week against Magnolia West. We're talking to Matt Stepp of theoldcoach.com here on DCTF Live. Getting involved in the conversation, hashtag DCTF Live. Matt, kind of dipping down to the small school ranks. Everybody loves to be that high school football hipster and get on board a team's bandwagon early. Is there a small school bandwagon that you're riding pretty hard that you are that you maybe want to let our listeners in on?
You know, I don't know if they have a chance to win state because Bremon's been so dominant in 2A Division II and Region 4, but I really like Bruni. Mm-hmm. They brought back every single player from last year. I think they had carried 17 kids on varsity. All 17 returned from a team that went to the quarterfinals last year. He's got a really good head coach, and Kyle Freeman's done a great job in his second year there. I believe they had a kid move in. Freeman made one of those real genius hires where he hires an assistant coach who's got a stud all-state kid from New Mexico, added a little bit of depth to that pod as well. So I think Bruni's probably my real deep sleeper. I just don't see anyone in 2A Division II knocking off Bremond and in Region 4 especially. And so they're kind of stuck in that region with Bremond. But if you're looking for another one, I don't know how big of a sleeper they are, but Pottsboro's been incredibly dominant in 3A Division I. I think their closest game has been like 35 points. I mean, they're just destroying everyone they come against, and no one's talking about them because you got Cameron Yo, you got Brock, you got Mineola at the top of 3A Division I. But keep an eye on Pottsboro.
We're talking with Matt Stepp of theoldcoach.com here on DCTF Live. And Matt, before we let you go, you travel all over the state, and how many high school games are you up to so far this season?
I'm up to 30. It'll be 31 tonight when I make the trek over to Corsicana to watch Cujo and Corsicana and a little Monday night football action. So it'll be 31 after today.
Do you sleep? Ever?
It's rare. It's a rarity. I will admit that it's a rarity, but it's fun. I mean, gosh, getting paid to watch football.
Yeah, you probably. Yeah. We are so we really struggle. All of us in the Texas.
The struggle is real. It is so real
for the media mafia. It's a real struggle to get paid to watch football. But I do want to ask you, because one of the big topics of conversation among the media mafia, if you will, is press box food, and you've been all over the state. You gotta give us one place. If you could have your last meal at one press box, where is it?
Oh wow!
I know. I'm putting you.
Outside of El Paso, I've been to this press box, but El Paso Del Valle. Coach Jesse Perales out there. He told me when I was covering one of the games there last year that they were gonna blow me away with their press box spread, and their home ec, or I don't even know if home ec is the actual correct term anymore. Their culinary arts department throws down. And then they also cater food in. So we not only had like Rudy's Barbecue and they had Cheesecake Factory was in there. And they made like homemade fajitas. We had appetizers, and they brought in like appetizers. And the students, they wait on you like almost like I felt like I had to tip when from the El Paso Times. It was like I could only cover like 1 or 2 games here because I'll gain 20 pounds. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. I left there because the students were waiting on you, and we had homemade desserts. I mean, the guy from the El Paso Times was like I could only cover like 1 or 2 games here because I'll gain 20 pounds. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. I mean, like I said, when you get there, then this is the appetizer. You're in for a good night when they're talking about appetizers like pregame.
They're pregaming it. Hold on, I want to see who Del Valle is playing this week and see if we can get out to El Paso.
See if we can just hop on a little plane.
Yeah, just
skip over there. Get on
he is Matt Stepp of theoldcoach.com. See his fine work at theoldcoach.com and follow him on Twitter. A must follow on Twitter.
Yes.
At Matt _ Stepp with 2 P's 817. Matt, appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the show. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks,
man.
We are trying. So that is Matt Stepp of theoldcoach.com. El Paso. Interesting. I love.
Not surprising that their food's amazing in El Paso.
But when you bring the, I don't know what the correct word is to it either. Home ec.
Sure.
I mean that's why everybody knows what we're talking about there.
Yes.
When you bring the home ec, the homemade stuff into it.
Yeah.
That's when you really
hit real.
That's when you really hit another level. That's when you really hit another level. So good to talk with Matt. I think he's right about Bruni. I've been silently banging that drum.
You've been quietly very excited about Bruni and their chances. A team from down south doing well
because they're from way down south. If you don't know where they are, just basically go to Laredo and go about I don't even know 50, 40 miles west or 4 miles east, and they're right there. Kind of, all due respect to our Badger friends, kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But we haven't had a team that far south be a legitimate contender in a long, long time. So Bruni's very good. They play great defense, and he's right. They've got a ton of outstanding playmakers.
You've been a fan.
Yeah, I have been a fan. A couple, he also mentioned Pottsboro, and we've talked about Pottsboro. We had Matt Poe on
the show
last week, and they look great. Zane Pritchett, and more than Zane Pritchett, it's that defense, and that defense continues to shine. Another,
and I understand anyone's hesitation to sit here and say, hey, Bremon's going to win, because of what they did last year. They're a year older. Rashad Paul's so much fun to watch. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If you want to trade fireworks for fireworks, maybe Pottsboro's that team.
Maybe they are. I mean, if they want to, it's going to take a special team to knock off Pottsboro. But there are, the problem is for Pottsboro is that there are special teams. That they're going to have to run through at some point. They're going to have to run through Mineola, or Cameron Yo or Brock, or all, or I don't know off the top of my head what regions those are in. Let's see. Cameron Yo's in 3, Mineola's in 2. Anyway, I won't bore you with doing my own mental calculations. But it was another big weekend in the DFW area, in Dallas-Fort Worth. And one of the games that really – there were 2 games that really caught my eye from there. Cedar Hill's dominating win over DeSoto. Just blistering them. And then the other one would be Frisco beating Frisco Lone Star. Now, I wonder how much weather had to do with that, but Frisco's no pushover. They got that Idris Ali that running back who is just fabulous, and they grind you into dust, and they slowed down what was a fantastic Lone Star offense. Really, really impressed by Frisco. Of course, DFW all over our rankings with, your Allens and your Euless Trinities, let's see, Arlington Martin hung 87 on Pascal. And here to talk DFW high school football is the man who knows it best. It is
not true.
It is Corbett Smith of the Dallas Morning News. Corbett, I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way, I feel like on Fox Sports Southwest on Friday nights, we are just a 4-hour lead into your show.
It's probably true. We have actual results. You guys have to just advance a bunch.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, you're like, hey, let's cut to some scores. So we actually have scores. But then we're just the not even the JV. We're like the freshman B team to High School Scoreboard Live. And when you see Craig Way, it's real cool to see Craig Way in action. I've got a lot of respect for him.
You're both just lead-ins to Craig Way.
Yeah, well, actually, that's a good way to put it. Is that we are the freshmen and JV games leading up to the varsity at midnight. Is basically how it goes. He is Corbett Smith of the Dallas Morning News. Corbett, another big weekend of high school football across the DFW area. We'll start with the game that kind of everybody had their eye on, and Cedar Hill, a 26-2. Really, I don't know if drubbing's the right word, but
I think it's apt to call it a drubbing. Yeah.
Cedar Hill looked fabulous.
Yeah.
Is it possible that this Cedar Hill team is just as good as they were last year?
Matt Wixon and I were talking about it, my coworker Matt, who went and covered the game for the Morning News, and he says he thinks they're just right there. They've replaced guys going hitter and yon on both sides of the ball, and nevertheless, they are still one of the best teams in the state, if not the best team that's going to be in the Division II playoffs. The way that they handled a DeSoto team who really tested Cibolo Steel, that game was in doubt throughout. And this game certainly was not. They just couldn't get DeSoto could not run the ball. And if you can't run the ball, in inclement weather, you're not going to succeed. And, they didn't have, a 100-yard rusher and had several turnovers. It was a dominating performance. And I think Cedar Hill's, every bit as good as they've been in years past, which is mind-boggling considering how much they graduated.
To stick with the theme of comparing state champions from last year to state champions this year, Allen loses Kyler Murray. They lose a couple of other pieces on that offense, but still 8-0. Another big win over Flower Mound. They look like they're going to run to a 10-0, another perfect season. When you look at this, you've watched Allen maybe more than anybody else in the state. When you compare last year's Allen team to this year's Allen team, how do you compare and contrast them?
It was so dependent on Kyler Murray last year, and that defense, which has really been a strong point this year, and was late in the playoffs last year. The defense really came around. They really struggled at the start of the last season. Kyler Murray just put the team on his back and won games. That's not the case this year. They've had contributions from a bunch of different guys. Seth Green, came in, and here's the thing: the defense we knew was going to be good. They've had so many people transfer in offensively that have become big-time players. Their leading receiver, Lionel McConnell, is from Ohio. Their leading running back, Kirby Bennett, last year played at Parish Episcopal. Their quarterback came in from Minnesota. They've had skilled players come in, from various parts of the country to kind of shore up their deficiencies offensively, and the defense has played as expected.
Now that Katy is almost certainly going Division II, Allen's got.
Hey, I got a text from Matt Stepp saying that might not be the case.
It
so
might not be.
He's just getting our hopes up, and it's not nice.
It's not nice because it's probably there would have to be about 3 or 4 things that go right for that to happen, as opposed to one thing that went right on Friday, which was Tompkins beating Morton Ranch. Now that Katy's, let's for the sake of this conversation, let's say that Katy's going to Division II.
Okay.
Is Allen your favorite in Division I?
It would have to be. I can't think of anybody in the state that's right there with them. I think that Euless Trinity will give them a great ball game. and that's certainly a game that I will circle on my calendar and make sure that I'm at, because Trinity has the ability to compete against anybody just based on what they do. You know, they play great defense and they run the ball. And if you can do those things against any opponent, you're going to be in the ball game. The question I have about Trinity is, can they throw the ball when they have to? Mm-hmm. If they get down by 2 scores, or they get in a situation where they have to convert long third downs late in the game, is Tyler Nateague going to be able to throw the ball? You know, I don't know if he's hit 50 attempts this year. I mean, they throw it so infrequently and have had such success with that running game. But Allen's defense is going to be strong enough up front to put them in some third and longs and to test them. And if they can do it, then Trinity, might be able to pull off an upset. But right now, Allen is the team to beat. I don't see anybody, really positioning themselves. And quite frankly, you look at what the teams have done out of the Houston area once they've gotten into the state final. They haven't necessarily been extremely competitive with the DFW reps in Division I. So I don't see a team coming out of there, like a Pearland from a few years ago. And I don't, you look at what happened to Converse Judson this weekend. They don't necessarily look like a team that can compete at the absolute highest level against a team like Allen.
He is Corbett Smith of the Dallas Morning News on DCTF Live. Join the conversation at #DCTF Live. Corbett, dropping down into 5A real quick, there's Aledo who kind of looms there. I think everybody kind of forgot about Aledo. But then you run into basically Mansfield ISD. And you got Mansfield Lake Ridge, Mansfield Summit. They will duke it out this week. Very excited about this game. Obviously, we've got a ton of time to break that down, but give us an early preview of Lake Ridge and Summit.
Well, Lake Ridge has been our number one team in the season since Timberview fell off. Timberview was that team at the start of the season, and we were talking this morning at a meeting. A little embarrassed about our season predictions here at the Morning News because we had DeSoto and Timberview, and both those teams could hypothetically miss the playoffs.
Hi. Join the club.
Hi, we're waving. You can't see us, but we're waving.
I think that Lake Ridge has been just really solid all year. They surprised me a couple of times. I saw them a couple of times this year. It surprised me how well they played up front. That was an area of concern going in, but they've been strong on both sides of the ball, in their line. And they've got some of the best skill kids in the area, especially offensively. Jet Duffy has lived up to all the hype that he received over the summer, at all those quarterback camps. He certainly has played well. Duke Carter, as a running back, has been consistent. They're the real deal. I mean, when they beat Longview last year, I think everybody opened their eyes and realized that this is a team that is on the make. Now, Summit's been kind of flying under the radar until recently, and they've done it just by clobbering people. It was a really solid defensive performance against a good Lancaster team. Granted, that was on a sloppy track, and Lancaster, which has been a running team in years past, they relied more on their passing game this year, and they just couldn't throw the ball on Saturday. It was one of those games that was delayed. I think they had 61 yards total offense through a couple of picks. But the big question mark heading into this game is the health of Braden Nolan, the quarterback for Summit, who's really played well this year. He was in a sling in the second half of that game. He banged up his shoulder. He told our reporter, Tommy Cummings, on the team that he was fine, and it was just a soreness. But if he's not at 100%, that this game might lose a little bit of luster.
Corbett Smith of Dallas Morning News joining us on DCTF Live. And Corbett, we can't let you go without asking you the same question that we asked Matt Stepp before you.
We're just going to ask everyone this question now.
Now we're just going to, we'll cycle through.
Okay.
All right.
You can have your last meal at one press box in we'll say in the state. We won't even limit it to DFW, but one press box in the state. Where are you going?
I mean, from the Metroplex, I think you would have to choose one of the flour mounds. They always have just a plethora of options. So you'll have pizza, you'll have Italian food, sometimes you'll have burgers, sandwiches. You'd be able to kind of pick and choose. I know that I'm missing, there's some really great press box food in East Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to a guy like Gabe Brooks, who was covering that for ETSN and now works for Scout. You know, they've got some quality stuff out in East Texas, and you know that drifts a little bit into the Metroplex. I think Hanby Stadium and the Heat have had catfish before. You know, which freshly fried catfish in a press box is never a bad thing. But I'll go with the Flower Mound or Flower Mound Marcus.
Okay.
Well, you just tweeted about chicken and dumplings. Where did you get those from? Where are the chicken and dumplings?
Oh,
from?
just across the street. I had to rush out for lunch, but there's a little spot right across the street that has decent chicken and dumplings, and I'm going to go take a nap after this.
He is Corbett Smith. He find his fine work at sportsdaydfw.com. See him on Fox Sports Southwest from 11
at the kitty table.
11 to midnight at the kitty table with David Newberry
closet.
On Sports Day HS. And, of course, follow him on Twitter. Another essential Twitter follow at Corbett Smith DM. And Corbs, appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Stepp.
There he goes, Corbett Smith, the Dallas Morning News, the guru of all things DFW. Him and Matt Wixon. They've got a dynamic duo there.
Power team.
They are, yes.
They are the power team.
Yes, that is, he's very, he's locked in. He's locked into DFW. And I'm looking forward. I'll tell you, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, it is not a great week of, like, super elite high school football games.
That Mansfield game.
But that Mansfield
sure.
Summit, Mansfield Lake Ridge game is, like, tip-top.
You know, and I wish...
That's Dickinson, Clear Creek. You know, if you're down in the small schools, maybe Mason and Johnson City. But, you know, it's Stratford, Magnolia West. But, I mean, it's just we've gotten spoiled the past couple
years. I wish we had more time with him. One team that's kind of fascinating me now is Waxahachie.
Who knows?
Jordan Kitna's back.
I know.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, if they win out and they sneak in,
who knows?
Are they the quiet wrecking ball?
I have no feel for Waxahachie.
I have no feel
whatsoever.
either. I'm right there with you.
Because the thing is that he doesn't play defense.
Right.
And their defense is a big problem.
Totally with you. But if that offense, that's my sort of unknown sleeper. And I would have loved to have had time to ask him, but we really just don't have time today.
We don't.
I guess we could have him on again.
We probably could.
Probably will.
I mean, I guess we have like an infinity more shows to fill up. So that's going to do it for DCTF Live. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see our fine work at texasfootball.com. Vince Young, please come get your Player of the Year trophy. And we will see you tomorrow on DCTF Live.